Hi everybody, it's Blood and Plunder Week here on beastsofwar.com, and we have 3 fantastic mega bundles up for grabs. These include the Rulebook, 2 nation packs of your choice, and the cards that you're going to need to get you and a friend into the game. For your chance to win, get your comments in on any of the Blood and Plunder content this week on Beasts of War, Facebook or YouTube. Winners are announced in an upcoming weekender, so stay tuned. Hi everybody, welcome back to Blood and Plunder Week here on Beasts of War. I'm joined by John and Mike, and today we are having a closer look at the English. So, these are going to be some faction chats, actually giving you an idea of who's in each faction and what sort of tactics you're going to want to use. So John, I'm going to be looking to you in these, okay? Yep. So, English. Well, the English units. So, every single nation is going to have a captain, right?
Right.
So we have a beautiful big image of the captain here, and is this just like a generic captain?
Yes, this is generic English commander, is what it would be. Okay. So he'd be a captain at sea. On land, he'd probably be a lieutenant or a sergeant or something along those lines. I want to point out real quick too that what we have generally is nationalities, and then within, such as the English, within this nationality we'll have several factions.
Okay.
So we've currently got 2 choices with a third coming soon for the options in which you can arrange these guys. And sometimes they'll change the rules and stuff like that. But so anyway, back to it.
What we have here is the 4 core units that you're going to look at for the faction and your commander.
Right.
So the commander is actually a really nice little miniature, and one thing I really like about your stuff, it's all one-piece metal except for I think one guy.
Right.
Here's the miniature himself, and I'm guessing, are these your own personal minis you guys have brought along?
Yeah, for the most part. So I actually painted this one, hence the poor job. So.
Hey, it's absolutely fine for tabletop standard. This is something I always talk to people about is when you're painting miniatures, when is the miniature done? It's that whole thing of how long is a piece of string? When you're happy to cut it. You know, you think that's enough? It's enough. You know, that I'll put down on the tabletop, 3 feet away. That looks great.
Yeah, 20, 30 feet away, you can't even tell how bad it is. So.
Well, you see, here's the thing. So this is a generic commander, and each force has a generic commander. Right. Are there different levels of commander that we could maybe have a look at? Right,
so the generic commander model will work for really every faction's going to have 3 different commanders they can choose from. And it's basically the generic commander, and there's a untested, there's an experienced, and a seasoned version.
Okay.
And as you go up, the untested is free. You don't. It just includes in your force at no cost. You have to have a commander in your force.
Yep.
And whereas the seasoned will cost you quite a bit of points, but he's going to give you a lot of command options.
Mostly around 25 points.
All right.
He'll also work as a stand-in for a historic character. So a guy that we maybe haven't sculpted a model for because there's lots of them. Such as for the English, we've got for like the Buccaneers, we've got Robert Serrell, Barnard Spydrake, who we talked about before. We've got Edward Morgan, the uncle of Henry Morgan, and the nephew of Oliver Cromwell, if I could remember his name. But
Commander Cromwell, we'll call him.
But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine. Well, I mean, like
he's in the rulebook.
Hearing that we have different levels of commanders, I would like to get a closer look at them. So we'll maybe do a little set piece on the gaming table this week to actually show how the different levels of commander really work, because it's something I would like to go a little more in depth on. All right.
Got it.
All right. So 4 units though. So we have our 4 core units. Every faction, I'm assuming, is going to have guys like this. This will be your militia, yeah?
Right. So these are English militia. This is a basic unit. It's basically for European guys in European dress with muskets. And this unit will actually be in the future. We'll be able to represent some other options as well for different nationalities as well as the English. So.
All right. Well, for your basic English militia, is there anything special about them, or is this just your bog standard guy running around with a musket?
For the most part, it's your bog standard guy, like you say. But the difference is that each nationality is going to have some kind of little flavor to them, even for mundane units like their militia. If you want to look at them as mundane, that is. But anyway, so for them, they've got a pretty high resolve. So they've got a good resolve rating. That's one of the things the English were known for during this time frame. So.
Yeah, so basically each faction is going to play like the faction from history then?
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up, who do we have here?
So there we've got the Forlorn Hope. So this is the Buccaneer storming party for the English. So these These guys are as nasty as they come.
Right.
So if you notice, each one's got a musket, a long musket, a Buccaneer gun.
Mm-hmm.
They've each got several pistols. So because of that, they're carrying a brace of pistols, so they never have to bother with reloading.
Yeah, they just have a fresh one they can keep
You
pulling.
just fire it, throw it aside, get the next one out, and keep going.
Yeah.
As well as that, they've got a guy right here.
Uh-huh.
This little guy right there who carries, or put him up there. The guy on the far
Yeah.
right over there. He's carrying some grenades with him. So
lovely.
some explosives, which can be used as granados. They can be used as fire pots or stink pots. They all have different effects.
Okay.
All of which are highly effective.
All right. Well, John, can you quickly run me through what each grenade type does, just for curiosity here?
Well, the main one that I use is just the Grenados. Those things are amazing. You can't take saves against them when you throw it. You have the option of doing a fast throw if you want, which can blow up in your hand, but sometimes you want to take that risk. There's fire pots if you want to set something on fire, keep them suppressed, and then there's the stink pot. So if you want someone to, get some kind of cover out of anything, you want to use the stink pots.
Okay, cool.
You can also throw them and blind some people. Basically create a pillar of smoke somewhere. So.
Ah, I see. So nice tactical options for this unit. I'm assuming we will see these guys quite often on the tabletop. Next up, who do we have here?
So here are the freebooters. These are your standard fare English Buccaneers. So each guy's got a Buccaneer gun, a sidearm pistol, which means that it's kind of a one-shot pistol. They're not carrying reloads for it. If they're going to reload anything, it's going to be their muskets. So that's just once they get into close combat, they've got some options.
Yeah. Now, for the actual dress of these guys, I'm seeing a lot of variation. Would this have been common for the time period? There was no set uniforms?
No, definitely not uniforms for Buccaneers and privateers and people of that ilk. In fact, even a lot of militia wouldn't even have uniforms, and even the Spanish military in the New World, which is the only real military force in the New World that was very significant, they often wouldn't wear uniforms at all.
Right. Right. And so the Buccaneers, as we've heard, these are your sharpshooters for your units, yeah?
Yeah. For the English, those are the sharpshooting guys. They're kind of a mix of they've taken influence from English, typical English tactics, as well as from the Buccaneers, who were the cattle hunters we talked about previously. So they've learned that some of those guys were brought over to Jamaica to help kind of hunt down some of the Spanish rebels still on the island. So they've kind of picked up some of their tactics as well as some of their own. So they're a little bit of a mix of, they've got a little bit of the French flavor as well as some of the English.
Well, I want to get some of the minis in here because these, I would say, are my favorite models from the English side so far. And I think I've got them here, or have I grabbed the wrong unit?
That's them, yep. You got
Okay, I grabbed the right unit. I'm learning. So let's get a closer look at these guys. So one of the things that really jumps out at me is the details that you've worked in for all the little bits and pieces that would be carrying around on them. So what would these be?
So those are your bandoliers. They're what they'd call the 12 Apostles. They're basically a little wooden cartridge that inside's got a measure of powder and a musket ball.
So it's just speeding up that reload time.
Yep. And these were kind of on the way out at this point. The Buccaneers and a lot of different groups in the New World were already starting to, especially naval guys, were starting to replace that with what this guy's wearing right there, which is the cartouche box. It's got it there on his hip. So, and that would just carry some pre-rolled paper cartridges. So this is an early use of those. Okay.
Well, I do remember my buddy John had to make a lot of those for a reenactment one year.
Right.
Damn near took his finger off. But they are such characterful miniatures. As soon as you get some paint down on these, they do start to look really, really good.
Yeah, and these are our basic paints. These are a lot of, so like you said, a lot of our personal models, a lot of our, as well as some of our models that we use at conventions. We literally came here right from a convention, so we brought those convention models with us. So, as well as some of our own.
Yeah, we see. This is the thing. It's always nice to actually see what the game developers are working on for their own personal factions. So in fact, on camera. Which faction?
Depends on the setting. I really like the French at sea, the French Buccaneers, and I really like the Spanish militia on land.
I go for Spanish all the time. Indios Lanceros, that's my thing right there. I go for those two units.
All right, so you like to play more of the native forces then?
Yeah, more hit and run tactics, jumping in there, close combat.
All right, well, our last unit for the English here are these guys.
Okay, so these are the Sea Dogs. So the Sea Dogs are basically just English sailors, right? So these are English sailors that are accustomed to combat. So as you can see, they each carry a pistol, and they've got some sort of melee option with them. And their main use in the game, the main thing you're gonna want to do with these guys is put them on your cannons. So the English, as we know from the history of this period, right, as post-Spanish Armada victory, the English are really disciplined with their gunnery. So these guys are going to load cannons faster than anybody else right now.
Right. So basically, if you're on board ship, you're going to want a unit of these big enough to control your cannons.
Oh yeah, you want those guys on your guns. They're not bad in a brawl either. They're pretty tough as well. So.
All right, well, that's the English. What would you say are the main tactics that you need to look at for the English?
So for the English, personally, I think flexibility. I think you need to, with the English, you've got a lot of options. Each unit is going to be able to do everything at least moderately well. That's one of the strengths of the English. They're pretty resilient in the resolve. Not one of these units has a resolve higher than 5, which is a pretty good. That's
on a D10 system. Yeah, it's very good.
So they so you can kind of adapt. They're very adaptable. You can kind of adapt to the battle as it goes more than the other factions, which tend to have units that are more specific than do certain things.
Okay.
I'll say if you're playing English Buccaneers, you want to have at least one unit of the Forlorn Hope. Those guys are amazing. You need them to just rush in there. They have the Vanguard rule, so they're going to be pushing up further than any of your other units. And I'll have a lot of support of the English Militia as well. Muskets, they really help out.
Mass firepower is a good idea.
Exactly. A bunch of cheap guys with a bunch of musket shots is always a nice thing to have.
Yep.
All right, well, guys, tell you what, drop your comments in below. Are the English, catching your fancy for Blood and Plunder? They do look really nice to me, but I think I'm going to hold off on just which of the factions I'm going to settle on just for now. So, get your comments in below. We will move on. We will see you in the next one. Hi everyone, we hope you're enjoying this themed week. Make sure you don't miss any of it by checking out the playlist, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button to ding our dong so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, come across and join us on beastofwar.com for more great gaming content and a fantastic community. Also, keep your comments in for your chance to win.